Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Corbin Renner, and I'm going to be giving my community advocacy speech today. Loud sirens, high winds, and hail up to the size of baseballs. This is the telltale sign that a tornado is soon approaching. And as of just a few short months ago, this was a reality for the community that I live in and good family and friends. Today, in my speech, I'm going to not only talk about the disaster that struck my community in Central Arkansas, but I'm also going to say a few things on how we can prevent it for the future and some of the disadvantages of the solution. I'm credible to give you this speech due to the intensive research I've done, the interviews that I have done with local home disaster relief inspectors, and with tornado victims. Although tornadoes can destroy someone's personal belongings in just a matter of seconds, an 8x8 storm shelter can save the most important thing, and that is your life. In order to convince you that tornadoes are devastating and they are widespread, let's jump into my first point. My first point is going to be the lack of storm shelters in Central Arkansas, which is called Tornado Valley. I previously did an interview with Mike Grady. He is a home inspector that lives now in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and he works for a disaster relief inspection service. When I spoke to him, we spoke about many things about the disaster, and the first point we came across was about how he says that there is a lack of storm shelters throughout Central Arkansas. He says that there are many places that should have shelters, but they can't have them due to many different reasons. It was a very convicting subject to talk about for Mr. Grady due to the fact that he was actually saved by a storm shelter in a tornado that happened 20 years ago. He says that his family have always strived and prided themselves on being as safe as can be, and they purchased a storm shelter and it ended up saving their life. He also talked about things that he recommends for families. Like I said in my preview, just an 8x8 structure could save your life. These tornadoes are extremely devastating. I know that Oklahoma and Texas also have large tornadoes, but the ones that struck home really were devastating to us. The Arkansas Times writes that Arkansas has an average of 33 tornadoes a year. The last tornado that we had just a few short months ago ended up killing 17 people and injuring many. And like I said, this was right in my backyard. StateMaster.com says that Arkansas is number 17 in the United States on the list for total damage costs from tornadoes. This may not seem like a very great number, but to us Arkansans, this is a high risk that we want to definitely take care of. The previous tornado that came through had an estimate of $250 million in damage. I mean, it took out complete neighborhoods from out under our feet. Now that you see how devastating these tornadoes can be, let's go ahead and jump into my second point and talk about storm shelters. Storm shelters can be very significant due to the fact that they can just flat out save your life. The good thing about these storm shelters is that they're dug into the ground most of the time. They are made out of concrete and reinforced rebar and are considered indestructible. There was a study done by the Arkansas government, and they built an 8x8 storm shelter, dug it in the ground, simulated an E5 tornado coming over the top of it, and not a single thing in this tornado shelter was harmed. These things could benefit communities in more ways than none. They could be a safe place for the community to go. I've seen storm shelters where they have kids camps there. They show kids, what to do in case of an emergency such as a tornado. And it shows these kids where their safe place is in the community. These could also be placed in trailer parks because, if you live in a trailer, there's no safe place to go. A tornado could rip right through those things. And in Arkansas, the last tornado that came through destroyed many, many trailer parks. Now that we see the significance of these storm shelters, let's move on to what's holding us back from implementing all these storm shelters. The main reason that we don't have more storm shelters in Arkansas is the cost of them. I don't know if many of you know, but HomeAdvisor.com states that the average cost of a storm shelter for a family of 4 is anywhere from $7,000 to $9,000. This may not seem like a large money figure to save your life, but some people just cannot afford it. The location of these storm shelters is also halting us. Most people who have storm shelters are well-off families that can afford them, people that live in a house out in the country that have land where they have somewhere to put them. But for less fortunate families who are restricted to living in a trailer park, maybe in an RV camp, they don't have anywhere to put them. So things that should be implemented are these shelters should be placed in these areas to help out fellow citizens. Now that we've really seen what's holding us back, let's go ahead and talk about a solution to help this tragedy. There's many solutions that I've come up with and researched with and talking to locals and survivors of this last tornado. And the main thing that we've come up with is fundraisers. Fundraisers can be very, very beneficial in aiding the cost of these. There is a local country performing artist. His name is Justin Moore. He actually has been a huge, huge donor to this cause. And his last few concerts that he's done on tour, all of the proceeds have gone to the disaster relief, the shelters that are housing these people that lost everything. I think that if we could somehow implement all this money coming in to go towards building storm shelters, that would be very beneficial. National Geographic has said that Oklahoma has implemented a thing called Sooner Safe, which is where the state will aid people in building storm shelters. If we could just get something like that in this community, that could be very beneficial. Fox News says that the last tornado, there were 17 people killed. 10 of them actually were living in trailer parks. One of them was a family of 5. This can be stopped just from donations to a local disaster relief fund. Now that I've shown you these 3 main points, let's conclude my speech today. After telling you about how you can donate, you can do all these things, I want to leave you with a challenge. The challenge is to find your local disaster relief fund and make a donation. If it's $1, if it's $100. The victims of these disasters will greatly appreciate it. Thank you for listening to my speech today.